I was trying to just run faster every time I ran. I thought that's how you got fitter, was just go faster, lift heavier, do more, go further. And all of my runs were at a pretty fast pace. This is dating back to 2009, 2010. And I was starting to progress in triathlon, but only in short distance triathlon. I would go and do a sprint distance triathlon every Wednesday night. And I was winning those Wednesday night triathlons after about a year and a half. But when I did a half Ironman or a full Ironman, like the people that I was beating in these short distance triathlons, they would crush me in a long distance triathlon. And I'm like, I don't get it. Like at this point, I have a six pack. I'm really fit. I'm muscular because I'm doing CrossFit type workouts at the gym. And I'm like, I look fitter, way fitter than the people beating me. I just don't understand. So I hired a coach, and my coach told me I had to slow down to speed up. And I'm like, I don't understand that. How does that work?
Nobody's born incredible. People who do incredible things simply took the right steps. This is our journey. This is the hunt for incredible. Welcome back to another episode of The Hunt for Incredible, where we interview people who have done incredible things to tease out their mindsets and actions that enable them to do those things so you can apply it to your own life. On this episode, we have a very special guest. He's multifaceted, so we're going to be touching on a lot of different topics in this episode. He is a serial entrepreneur, a brand builder. He's a 5-time Ironman triathlete who made a transformative life choice to escape his unhealthy lifestyle as an insurance salesman in his late 20s. Today, he's not only founded restaurants like Original Grain and Exo Taco, but he's also an active angel investor in dozens of wellness brands, leveraging his platform as a fitness content creator to help early stage companies scale. His philosophy centers over movement is medicine. I'm super stoked to dive in. Eric Hinman, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Gideon.
All right, so let's just dive into the meat and potatoes of your story, what that transformation looked like, because I know we have a lot of listeners who they may experience a gap that's in front of them. They have a big dream that they're going for. They know the dream is in the palm of their hands. All they have to do is close it, but they're scared to make that leap, or they're not sure how to make that leap. So tell us briefly your story of what your 20s to today looked like in that transformation, going from, unhealthy salesman to being in the best shape of your life and building brands.
Sure. So in my 20s, I was very much just going through the motions of life. I thought it was work hard, play hard, get drunk on the weekends, go to bars, go to fancy restaurants, buy nice things. And that was the recipe for happiness. And in my late 20s, I found myself pretty out of shape. And I was an athlete in high school, played 3 sports. I played 1 year of basketball in college, got into weightlifting in college, had always been pretty fit. And then by my late 20s, I weighed over 200 pounds, 20+% body fat, and just didn't feel great. I was kind of lethargic and had brain fog. And ultimately, I just didn't like the way I looked anymore. And it was a result of what I was doing to myself. I was eating shitty foods. I was getting poor sleep. I was stressed out, just juggling too many balls. I wasn't exercising nearly enough, and I just didn't have an education around living a wellness-based lifestyle. So I hired a personal trainer. That was really what the catalyst for this new chapter of my life to, recognize that exercise is so much more than just looking a certain way and performing a certain way. It's also linked to emotional well-being and energy levels and opportunities that have come my way. So hiring the personal trainer when I was 27 years old got me back into aesthetically decent looking shape. I committed to 5 days a week, 6:30 a.m., 30-minute training sessions. And at first it sucked. I was like, I don't want to go into the gym today at 6:30. And this workout he's going to put me through is I'm going to want to throw up. It's going to be so hard. But over time, you build a resilience to it, just like Ironman. My first Ironman compared to my 5th Ironman were 2 very different outcomes on how I felt afterwards, because your body starts to recognize the new norm. So I committed to a 6-month package. And after that 6 months, I felt good. I looked good. And I recognized that the aesthetic that I got from it was just a byproduct of like feeling really good every single day, hitting that 6:30 workout. But, the aesthetic was somewhat performance-based, but I signed up for a 15K run, and after that 15K run, I was just smashed. And I'm like, okay, just because you look a certain way might not mean that you're going to perform a certain way, that you're an athlete again. So I started running again, signed up for a sprint distance triathlon. And that's when I really started to get serious about training instead of just exercising. And I hired a coach, and through my coach, I went from doing a sprint distance triathlon, not really knowing how to swim, not having much of a background in biking, to towing the line at the Ironman World Championships twice.
What catalyzed you hitting the gas on it? Was it a competitive nature or was it something else?
I think it was a few things. It definitely was a competitive nature. I like competing against myself. And I recognized that with triathlon, it's just a grunt work sport, similar to business, where if you have the right mentors and you have the right plan and you execute day in and day out and you compound these consistencies, you can take the sport really far. So that's what I liked about it was on me, where playing team sports in high school is like you got a team around you, and a lot of that is going to dictate the outcome. But my results were directly correlated to how much purposeful progress I put in. So that's what I loved about it. And I think ultimately I just got addicted to feeling good. I'm
Mm.
like, I feel so much better now every day by hitting this morning workout. Why wouldn't I do it? And then the afternoon workout, it's like this another spike of endorphins that I get from doing it. And then sleeping better and then eating better, like all of it they were like little chapters. It was focusing on one thing at a time. So it was exercise first, and then focusing on diet, then focusing on sleep, then focusing on recovery. It's not like I did them all at once, but compounding that over time, they're just two very different journeys from where I was in my late 20s if I had just continued through on that path that I was living.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's interesting hearing your story on how your milestones or your goals shifted over time. At first it was, oh, I just want to look better, and then you started to feel better and it shifted to, oh, I want to feel better and I want to compete and perform at the highest level. It's easy for us to sit in stagnation and try to map out what are our goals. Like people, they say, oh, I want to start a business, but I don't know what business to start. And they sit there trying to map out what that future goal and target is. But really, the best thing that you can do is take action to begin moving forward, because your goals are going to change and evolve as you aggregate more information and as you learn as you're progressing. So, hearing your story, such a simplified example of what I've seen the best entrepreneurs experience, which is taking action first and then building up and learning from that so that your goalposts can shift.
100%. And it's just the compounding consistency of it. Now do I do extraordinary things? Sure. And I do extraordinary workouts? Sure. But that wasn't the case when I first started. It was just committing to 5 days a week, 30 minutes a day. And then it was, getting in 3 runs a week. And then it was getting in 3 bikes a week. And then it was adding in the swimming, then adding in the recovery. So you really need to start somewhere. And I think it's really easy to overcomplicate it. Like there's just so many things
Yeah.
out there that you can do. Just pick one thing to master, make that habit, and then move on to the next. Then make that habit, then move on to the next. And that's exactly what I did. And, now it's on autopilot. So I wouldn't say that I really have motivation around these things. It's just structured into
Things
my
that you
day. I'm going
do.
to hit my morning workout. I'm going to hit a contrast therapy session at night. I'm going to eat good food with good people, and I'm going to get my afternoon bike ride in. It's just on autopilot.
Yeah. What did you do to actually get to the point of it being on autopilot? Like, did you have any techniques or methods for baking in that habit, or was it more just brute force every day, just hitting it until it became second nature?
No, it was time blocking. It was designating certain time periods to these are when I'm doing my training sessions and knowing exactly what I was going to do. I still do this. I write out my workouts. I know what bike ride I'm going on. I have a map and an idea of what I'm going to do each day. And during that time period, I had a coach. So all I had to do was log into Training Peaks and see what my workouts for the day. And I wanted to turn those workouts that were red into green by, executing on them as they were written. And uh, yeah, it was just structure. It was like, okay, every day from 6 a.m. until 7:30 a.m., that's workout time. Lunch break, I'm going to go get a swim in. Evening, I'm going to get my 60-minute run in. So it was just time blocking it.
Yeah, being structured. Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's interesting. Different things draw people to those endurance events differently. Like me, I've done a half Ironman and I've done an ultra. I did a 50K ultra, and For me, those were pushing to break my mind to discover that version of myself that is at the edge of just wanting to fold but not folding. Like the ultra that I did, it was in East Texas, it has the biggest delta in terms of latitude of
Mhm.
any other course in Texas. I think it's like up there in the States as well. But for me, it was like no headphones, just me and myself with these super tall trees where you feel like you've been there before, like the entire time, like nothing really changes.
Mhm.
And so just the like pushing the mental aspect, I'm always looking for where that mental break is and trying to break my mind before my body does. And I've never broken my mind before my body. It's always been my body beginning to fail before then.
Mhm.
But for me, I find such joy in that specific type of suffering where it's leaning into that discomfort and embracing it and hanging on to it, not trying to avoid it and deflect it, but really sink into it. What's your disposition towards pain that enables you to push through those things so that you can push the limits?
Yeah, I mean, physically over time, obviously you build a higher tolerance to the pain and you can push harder and longer as you continue to compound the training. I mean, my disposition to it is if I've done it before, I know I can do it again. So let's take like 100 unbroken wall balls in a high rocks workout or a CrossFit workout. I've done it a bunch of times. I know I can do it. So I'm just going to do it. And I know the feeling isn't going to get worse so much throughout, kind of like getting into an ice bath.
Mm.
It doesn't really get worse than that initial shock of dunking your head in the cold water. And then I can just sit in it. It's not going to get any worse. I've done it before. I can do it again. And, I also look to others. I look to others' ceilings. Like, what have they accomplished? If they've accomplished it, then I can probably accomplish it as long as it doesn't require some kind of genetic talent like basketball or football would.
Right.
It's like, if they can do it, then I can do it. That just took years for them to master it, to train their mind and body to be able to do it. And I don't know, I'm really fueled by progress more than anything. And that's what I love about exercise is there's no real luck involved. It's just like
Execution.
execution every single day, and that yields progress. And the cool thing about triathlon specifically is it's all very trackable. I can track my heart rate at a certain run pace. I can track my wattage at a certain heart rate. I can track my swim laps and see if I'm getting faster. Ironmans, you can see if you're getting faster. So you're competing against yourself, which I really enjoy about that sport.
What was the evolution from taking this passion of pushing yourself and evolving it into a personal brand?
So it started back in 2010, 2011. At the time, I was co running a software company and we were building mobile apps for the iPhone. And my business partners were all college kids. They were downloading all the latest and greatest apps, and one of them was Instagram. So I downloaded Instagram and started just posting pictures of my life, which was probably the copious amounts of food I was eating, my cool bike I just bought, the new running shoes I had. There was no intention with it. I had no idea it was going to become a personal brand or eventually a business. And, I shared my Ironman journey through those years, my training, my recovery, how I was balancing entrepreneurship with all of the training hours and, slowly began to build a following and an audience and people interested and people messaging me saying, "Hey, I'm really inspired by your lifestyle. I just signed up for my first 5K. I just signed up for my first half Ironman, just signed up for my first full Ironman." And I was like, this is really cool. I'm inspiring people to do something that helped me so much and that filled my cup so much. So, I kept sharing and, it wasn't a business until 2016, 2017. That's when I started first getting brand deals. So for 6 or 7 years, I was just doing it because I enjoyed it. And I still do it very much so because I enjoy it. I enjoy the way I live my life. And I think it's beneficial to base a part of your day around wellness. I think it makes you a better father, a better husband, a better business owner, a better employee, just a better person, more energized, more mentally clear. So I've continued to, share my journey and my message. And, now it's become a business. But I always tell people getting into it, it's like you got to add a lot of value first and you have to love the process. And the last 15 years of my life, whatever I'm doing, I make sure I love the process. Like I'm not chasing money anymore. I'm chasing perfect days. I want to live perfect days day in and day out. And if I can figure out a way to monetize that, great. If I can't, I still want to live my perfect day. That comes first.
Yeah, I love that. I always say you should live a life that if it were a series, you would be interested in watching.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get tied up in, like you were saying, chasing the money. And then now you're just working a 9 to 5, living in a cubicle, and you hate your life. And then what's the whole point anyway? If you're living a life that you're miserable with in order to get something, why not just cut straight towards living the life that you're interested in and then redirecting? Because you can still make money doing the things that you're interested in.
For sure. And, I would never tell someone just to like completely rip the band aid off. Like, I had side hustles. My first business was property and casualty insurance. I was sitting in a car, driving 50,000 miles a year, going door to door selling insurance. It certainly wasn't something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life, but it was a means to an end. It built that foundation so then I could start taking risks and doing things I was more passionate about. So, yeah, if you're not thriving in what you're doing now, figure out what that thing is where you're stoked to wake up in the morning and work on it. And if you're that stoked to work on it and, it's solving a problem and you can figure out a product or service around it, like start that little side hustle until it becomes your main hustle. And then, you can quit the 9 to 5 that you have. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't tell someone who has a family and mortgage and car payments to just like rip the band-aid off and do what you're passionate about. Like side hustle until you're confident that, maybe now it's not replacing my income and what I hate, but it's starting to. And if I pour all of my heart and soul into it, it'll replace it.
Yeah, and on top of that, let it give you a taste of the future of what you're working towards.
Mhm.
Like I just made a post right before we were hopping on this podcast. Today is a day that is designed to have everything that my perfect day requires. Like
Mhm.
today, I'm exclusively doing things that I love doing. Like I'm having a great podcast with you. Later today, I have a community call with. I have a real estate community for people who are buying hotels and working with them to buy hotels and create these phenomenal experiences with people, collaborating with people that I enjoy working with. Like these are the things that I love to do. And this is what I want every day to look like. Of course, I have other days where I have to do the stuff that I don't like doing, but my goal is to iteratively improve my lifestyle and my life such that more and a greater and greater percentage of my week goes towards things that I love doing. And having days that are comprised entirely of the things that I love doing, it gives me a taste of that future that I'm working towards to say, okay, this is something that can be highly profitable. I can scale this to the point where I'm exclusively doing this thing and I'm leaning into my zone of genius. Everybody has their zone of genius where they are significantly better than everybody else at this one specific thing. And it's so easy for us to want to focus on the things that are the most important, which makes intuitive sense, right? Like, don't give up the important thing because it's important. You need to make sure that that ball doesn't drop. But giving up the important things so that you can focus on the thing that you love can also be incredibly valuable because maybe that important thing is something that you hate doing and there's somebody else who loves doing that important thing
Mhm.
and they're going to execute on that important thing even better than you would be able to. So now you're collaborating with someone, you're creating an interdependent relationship, a relationship where you two can go further together than you can individually. And now you're both doing what you love and scaling that up. So, with that, I want to dive into your approach to building brands. I know you're invested in multiple wellness brands. You leverage your personal brand to scale those up. What does that model look like?
So I love entrepreneurship. I've always just been a self-doer. My first business was an insurance agency that I started right out of college, and then the software company building mobile apps, and then restaurants, a gym. And now I get to just play in the part that I really enjoy, which is early stage business, like building the brand, building a community around it, helping with product ideas and messaging. So what it looks like for me is I leverage the audience that I have and I'm able to help early stage wellness brands, which is my niche, get the word out early on about their product. And I partner with brands that I deem to be the latest and greatest. They have good branding, they have a good product, they want to build community around it. And I like brands where you feel like you want to be friends with the brand.
Mm.
Like everyone loves Apple and Nike, and you just kind of feel like it's this personality and you want to be friends with it. So I like involving myself in brands like that. And, I know that my big value add is getting the word out about them. I don't want to feel like a billboard with my audience that I have. I want to, truly feel like I'm the investigator, like finding the newest, coolest brands that are just popping up on the scene. So that's who I generally partner with. And I have consulting agreements with them where I'm helping them with building their ambassador program. I'm helping them with community events. I'm helping them with early stage product seeding. Both of our homes, Denver and Austin, we host people pretty much every single night to do contrast therapy. And we have these really cool product seeding areas where people can build a little swag bag when they come over. That's all of the stuff that you don't see. What you see is obviously the posting on social media, the whitelisting, which is where brands get really good ROAS at the moment. And then I invest in many of them. Half of the brands I work with, I'm an investor in them. And it's usually at a really early stage, either pre-seed, seed, Series A rounds. So, but yeah, I'm careful with who I work with. I want them to weave in with my life. And, I use the would I fly to Tokyo rule with the founder. Like, would I want to spend a lot of time with the founder? Would I want to sit next to them and in a plane to go into Tokyo? And that's the case with all of the brands I work with.
Hey, quick pause here. If you're getting value from these conversations, it would mean the world to me if you took 10 seconds right now to leave a 5-star review. Each review directly helps us reach more people who can benefit from these incredible conversations. And if you're looking to buy a hotel or invest in one of our deals, or even if you just want to say, hey, you can send us an email at hello@thehuntforincredible.com. We'd love to hear from you. Now back to the show. That's amazing. So you've already alluded to some of the points, but what does a brand need to have in place for you to want to step in and blow it up?
Product market fit. So they understand who their audience is and they're gearing their messaging to that audience. A sticky product. So something that you subscribe to. I like investing in those types of companies because if it's a company where it's only one sale and then it might not be another 7 years before they buy again, it just becomes a lot more expensive to acquire customers. Subscription products, a supplement that helps you sleep better, a nootropic where you feel a certain way from taking it, those are sticky supplement companies where people are going to subscribe to the product or service. I look a lot at the founder. Do I think they have what it takes to, grow the company at a rapid rate and then be able to sell it? So founders who've already sold businesses and they're starting another one, that generally means they have the connections, they understand how to grow a business and then be able to sell it. Who are the other investors in the company? Are there investors in the company now that could later buy the company? Because in investing in these early stage companies, generally the only way that you're going to make money on them is some kind of liquidity event, acquisition, going public. Most aren't going to go public. So, is there a path to acquisition? And that's how you make your return. And many of them are going to go to zero. I spread my money out. If we take $500,000, I'm putting $25,000 on 25 different companies. I'm not just putting it all into one because they're risky investments. And while I enjoy doing that, most of my retirement money is still in much safer assets, the stock market, stocks and bonds.
That makes sense. What do you see in a brand that what gap do you see in brands that you can uniquely add value to that gets you excited?
Early stage awareness and helping build their ambassador programs. Just having been in the wellness space for a long time, having been in the content creation space for a long time, I have many friends in this space. So, most early brands in the wellness space, they'll look to me to help them identify other ambassadors that have good product market fit and that have an audience that would be interested in that product or service. So I would say early stage awareness, product seeding as well. And then community events, hosting people, hosting runs and the hardest mile and founders only events, bringing people together.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's dive into that a little bit more then. So building that early stage awareness, what have you found catalyzes that early stage awareness the best? Like what type of content seems to land the best, etc.?
I mean, organic, how you're using this in your daily life and getting a number of people talking about that in a certain niche. So let's take like Ketone IQ, for example. Early on, they went very much after the endurance athletes. So endurance runners, endurance cyclists, and, making sure that you're picking the right people who have an audience who's interested in how they fuel their endurance endeavors. And then you get, 20 people in that space talking about it. Those 20 people, many of them share followers. So all of a sudden, it seems like everyone is talking about ketone IQ. So I think the number is you have to see something 7 times before you're really interested in it. It's figuring out how to assemble that group of people to get the messaging out so that, someone has seen it 7 times. I still like guerrilla marketing. I like the brands that go set up at a run club, or the brand that, doesn't pay for the booth at a marathon, but they have like a truck pop up or something outside of the marathon, and they have some witty, idea that they're doing to engage audience and get people to come and visit them. So be scrappy. And I also like brands on social media who share like the story of how they got from, in their garage, conceptualizing the idea to now we're in Whole Foods. What did that process look like? So I think it's cool when brands share the personality behind the brand and how they got from A to B.
People love the story. That
Yeah,
open feedback loop where they feel like they have to stick to the end.
for sure.
I mean, that's such a beautiful recipe for virality and people following and engaging long term. That's awesome. That's awesome. And it's cool too. Like it's a testament to what you've built as well, where your personal brand, it is authentic. You have a lot of content around what your everyday looks like. And then weaving in these products is beautiful because it's contrary to what a lot of people say to do, but you've executed it in such an effective manner. Because a lot of people say, okay, you hyper niche down. This is the one thing that you talk about. Don't bring lifestyle into it. And then you have the other school of thought that says bring lifestyle into it because you are your own niche, etc. Right? What you've done is you've created a niche in of yourself where you can bring in these products that naturally fit your lifestyle. So there's a natural alignment with you building brands that fit your lifestyle and brands that you can add genuine value to because people are tuning into you because of your lifestyle and because they want to model their life after yours. So seeing the synergy there is very cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm dating myself a bit, but I love the show Entourage. And, you would see them driving a Maserati and using an Apple iPhone, using an Apple computer, and, you know, wearing the cool Nikes. So, I like that type of marketing where it's like, okay, that just makes sense that they would drive a Maserati in the show Entourage because they're actors and they would use an Apple computer. And, it's kind of an aspirational lifestyle. I'm just sharing my lifestyle around wellness and the things that weave into it.
Yeah, it's that guilt by association. When you look up to somebody and you see them associated with a product, you instantly trust that product
Sure.
more. Yeah. So, okay. So then now let's segue into you've talked about building or adding value to these companies, and you've also talked about your interest in entrepreneurship and kicking things off yourself. How do you view the trade offs of investing in something that already has momentum versus kicking something off yourself?
So I like early stage marketing better than I like building a business. I've been on both sides. I've managed people. I've had to hire and fire people. I've had to do customer service. And like you said before, there's people who can do a lot of those things better than I can. Delegate, automate, eliminate. So many of those things that I know I either don't enjoy or I'm not nearly as good at as other people are, I've delegated them, automated them, or eliminated them. So for me now, I really enjoy just working with brands early stage and having a piece of it, a small piece of it, rather than building something on my own. Both are rewarding. I think it really depends on where your skill sets lie. For me, my perfect day involves a lot of exercise. It involves hosting people to do contrast therapy at night. It involves having a big group barbecue every single night. So I've really figured out the things that I enjoy the most and just gotten rid of those other things where I just didn't feel as purposeful. I wasn't as stoked about it. I didn't feel like I could add as much value as the things that I'm really good at and really enjoy doing. So, that's why I've carved out this niche of being more of a consultant rather than building my own thing. Because the opportunity has presented itself a million times to,
Yeah.
spin up my own supplement brand, my own drink, my own apparel company, whatever it may be. I just don't know that I enjoy business enough anymore to do that. And money isn't the big motivator for me anymore. It's really lifestyle. Like I want to replicate my days that I have now. And I'm very cautious about bringing anything in that will disrupt what I really enjoy doing every day.
I love that. We've already touched on this lightly, but I think it's worth hitting on again is identifying your zone of genius that you love doing and then designing your life around it. Not just life outside of work, but letting the work be designed as well.
Mhm.
I experienced something similarly. So, my background's in tech. I ended up segueing into hospitality, so short term rentals, scaled up into hotels. And the reason why I love hotels so much more than short term rentals is because due to their scale, you're able to lean into your zone of genius and isolate yourself there. So I don't like doing the day to day operations. I don't like running a hotel. But with that scale, I can bring in a team who likes running hotels. I don't love doing like the legal work and organizing all that jazz, but I have a team that does that. And so leaning into what I love doing, which is looking at deals and having the vision to see where the opportunity is and getting excited about crafting that vision
Mhm.
and then collaborating with other people to execute to drive it all the way through is the thing that I personally love doing. And I used to think that, if you want to make money in business, if you want to build something significant, you have to just do the work that you hate doing. And while that is true, while there will be work that you hate doing, you don't need to subject yourself to always doing that work that you hate doing. You can bring other people involved and bring them along for the ride. And I love the model that you're going for. That's a very similar model to what I'm doing with hotels right now, which is identifying people who have a deep passion, who I believe have high odds of success. We're very selective with who we let into our community. We actually don't even advertise it. It's more like a tap on the shoulder. You look like a good fit, and we bring people in. And so bringing people in who are aggressive and hungry and going towards those goals, and then collaborating with them, working with them, and then getting a piece of equity in their deals is what I found is my sweet spot that I absolutely love.
Mhm.
So seeing you apply it to brands is cool too, because like you can almost view like a lattice structure. Some organizations work off of lattice structures where it's you have these lateral divisions like marketing that span across the company, and you can be a lateral division in how you operate as an individual, where you with your awareness on marketing and building awareness, like pulling that out and then letting that be your offering that spans across multiple brands is just a beautiful thing. So what do you see in the future that you're building towards, whether it's leveraging what you currently are doing or whether it's like an exciting vision that you're building up towards?
Yeah, the two most exciting things I have going on right now are founders only. So, an organization for entrepreneurs, creators, and investors to get together for multi day wellness retreats, and then an online component to that as well, where we have a private Slack channel, a video vault. We have speakers every other week talking about topics within the entrepreneurship space, helping entrepreneurs grow their companies, start their companies, scale their companies. So, I'm really excited about continuing to grow that. We have our next event here in Austin in November. And I like hosting these at our homes, just like unique spaces that you wouldn't otherwise have access to. So a lot of the activities just literally happen right at our house. Barbecue at the house, contrast therapy at the house, a run from the house. And we do the same thing in Denver. And then friends' homes as well, we'll leverage in other places. So continuing to find cool locations that people want to visit for the founders only events. And then about 4 years ago, I did what I now call the world's toughest mile. I was in the mountains in Colorado driving to go mountain bike, and there was this beautiful track on the way to where I was going to mountain bike. And I'm like, I want to do something really hard today. So I pulled off, hopped on the track, and I was like, what's a really hard mile that I could do? So I handstand walked a lap, which took like almost 30 minutes. I burpee broad jumped a lap, I lunged a lap, and then I bear crawled a lap, and it was brutal. And not many people would do that because handstand walking is a skill. But I'm like, okay, everybody can do a burpee broad jump, everybody can bear crawl, everybody can lunge, and everybody can run. That's the world's toughest mile, one lap of each of those movements. So I just partnered with two people who are much better at the business side, the event organization side, and we're rolling out the world's toughest mile next year. We're going to do an event here in Austin. We're looking at Miami to do one. Our business partner was the founder of Wadapalooza. So we're going to do it kind of around the Wadapalooza timeline in March. And I'm excited for that because I love community events where everyone's endorphins are racing and people are, meeting new people and having awesome conversations. And we're going to set up the infield with contrast therapy and music and vendors. And everyone is just together. What I, don't like as much about a marathon or an Ironman is You're not together with everyone the
Right.
entire time. You're out there alone for a lot of it, or you might be around a few people and then you finish, you're exhausted. Maybe you grab a piece of pizza and a drink and then you head off and you didn't really get to meet
Yeah.
many people. So, we want to make this a big community oriented event.
Yeah, community is huge. Like at the end of the day, we're tribal,
Yeah.
right? Like humans, we operate more effectively, we scale better, we learn better when we are operating together.
Yeah.
So that community aspect, that's such a good point that I haven't thought about with the endurance events is how can you actually push somebody physically while keeping them in a confined enough space that they can build those meaningful relationships and have great conversations.
Yep. That's so much of Founders Only. We usually do long hikes, like a 2, 3, 4 hour hike. And, people are going to really bond with each other when they're together for 2, 3, 4 hours in the wilderness. And same with contrast therapy. I really think that, like I preach this all the time, a sauna on every street corner, just like there's a coffee shop or a bar on every street corner right now. I think it'd be really cool if there was a sauna on every on every street corner, because I've had some of the best conversations and
Yeah.
met some of, the best people in saunas.
Dude, I love that. I'm going to have to get involved with that. So you have a mantra that's simple but powerful. Think like a bumblebee, train like a racehorse. What do you mean by that?
So think like a bumblebee is a bumblebee based on its shape, isn't supposed to be able to fly, but because it believes it can, it does. And then train like a racehorse is, a racehorse doesn't question its master, it just executes on the plan. So I really adopted this during the Ironman years, and my triathlon coach told me that saying, where it was just like positive thoughts. I'm going to get to Kona. I'm going to watch hours and hours of the Ironman World Championships when I'm doing my indoor biking sessions. I'm going to visualize being there, and then I'm just going to execute like a racehorse does on the training plan. If he puts a workout in, I'm hitting it, and I'm just every single day compounding consistencies, positivity, executing. I'm going to get to Kona, and it worked. So that's what it means for me is positive thoughts. If you believe it, you can do it. And then obviously you have to train to overcome that obstacle or to get to that place where you want to be.
That's awesome. I love it. What's a fitness trend right now that makes you want to flip a table?
Fitness trend that wants me to flip a table, man. I really feel like everybody wants the easy way out. So much of the questions I get are like, what supplements are you taking? Or, what biohacking things are you doing? And while these things are icing on the cake, it's mastering the basics. Are you exercising? Are you mainly eating single ingredient food sourced from nature? Do you have those on autopilot? Are you sleeping at least 7 hours and getting good sleep? Do you have good relationships? Are you part of a community? Do you feel like you're contributing in whatever you're doing? Are you reducing your stress levels? Like all of these matter way more than the fancy new biohacking product out there or the supplements. So I think it's just like mastering the basics, living more like our ancestors did, being outside, moving, lifting heavy things, exposing ourselves to, good stressors like hot and cold. So yeah, living more like our ancestors and relying less upon a lot of the modern marketing, which is more of the icing on the cake.
Yeah. The hack is accepting that there are no hacks and you can't cut the corners and just have to execute.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for 17 years now, and the reason why I look the way I do at 45 is because I've been doing this for 17 years. It wasn't some magical day where I figured out this new thing. It was just compounding the same things day in and day out, and they're two very different journeys of drinking every night, eating ice cream and eating pizza, or exercising every day, getting good sleep, having good relationships, doing things you enjoy. So just moving more towards this rather than the other way. And I think it's mindfulness and intention. Those were things that I practiced in my late 20s that got me to where I am. Writing out all of these things where my mind is wandering. I don't feel good. I'm tired in the afternoon. I didn't like that conversation. I don't feel like I'm adding any value in this conversation. And then on the other hand, I finished that run. I feel energized. I was in the moment. That's all I wanted to be doing at that time. I love being in the mountains. I love that conversation I had with that person. I really feel like I added value, talking to that business person. So building your life around that and starting to eliminate all of these things over here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think it really comes down to what are you optimizing for and what are you shaping your life around? I think, at least for me, when I was in my early 20s, just after college, I also spent a lot of time, I was working like a dog trying to build businesses and everything else. But then I also had my friends that liked going out and partying. And I was really burning the candle at both ends, just trying to like stay up late, partying, and then getting up early and building these businesses. And I think the reason why I was trying to juggle all of those things at the same time was because I wasn't crystal clear on the outcome that I was going towards.
Mhm.
And because of that, fitting in these unhealthy habits like staying up late and drinking, the reason they fit in was because I didn't actually know what I was building. I didn't know what I was working towards. And once I got crystal clear on, I want to build a significant company, and that was that isolating factor, I realized I need to cut out these other things, these unhealthy habits, in order for me to get there. I also experienced something really wild. About 3 years ago, my wife became incredibly ill, and we didn't know what was going on with her. Her health started to decline. She started with brain fog. It evolved into she had a hard time piecing sentences together. We took her to the doctor, and nobody had any idea what was going on with her. Over time, it progressively got worse to the point where she was bedridden. And it was wild because I think in total we took her to about 9 doctors, specialists, generalists. They ran blood work, everything, and everything came back normal. Nobody knew what was going on. And I had to have a lot of hard conversations with myself, with God on long walks, just mulling it over. Within a 4 month period, that was going on. And my mom came down with a form of cancer that had a 20% survival rate. And my dad was sent to the ER with heart failure. And they said, we can't let him go or he'll die, and he needs a heart transplant or he's going to go. And he had about a 5% survival rate. So within a 4 month period, the three most important people in my life were at death's door. And that was a big wake up call for me, realizing that tomorrow is not promised, right? That mantra that everybody knows. But even more than that, actually feeling and empathizing with the reality that we are on a clock and that our health right now, it's an investment in our future. It's not just an investment right now. Like there are short-term gains for feeling better right now, but there are also tremendous long-term gains of what do you want your 40s, 50s, and 60s to look like based on how you're treating yourself today. That shifted my perspective. And since then, I've become wildly obsessive about longevity and the utility of my body, more so than even just looking good. But how do I make sure that this body is functioning properly? And that aligned me so well with wanting to build something significant that makes an impact on the world. I had a little girl now. She's a week and a half old.
So cool.
So
Congrats.
brand spanking new. Thank you so much. And she's wildly shifted my perspective on why I want to do any of the things that I want to do. But it's having this holistic image and piecing all of the elements together to create this optimal version of you. So, if you could distill it down, I know this is a very difficult question to ask. If you could distill down your North Star, everything that you're optimizing for, like from now all the way into the future until you die, what would you say that distillation is?
Perfect days. I mean, I would say replicating perfect days, and there's a lot that goes into that, obviously, but that's really what I'm optimizing for right now. And that's the environment that I'm in, having a place here in Austin, having a place in the mountains, the people that I'm around that raise my ceiling in business, they raise my ceiling in, wellness and longevity and, physical accomplishments, community, having people come over every single night to do contrast therapy, meeting new people so I continue to grow and have great conversations. I think too often we're just tuning into our phones or watching TV. And I don't know, I really enjoy conversations like this in person where I get to know someone and we get to learn from each other and we both walk away and we're like, damn, that was awesome. I feel so energized from that. Building things, progress, businesses, working towards overcoming obstacles, doing Leadville, doing another Ironman, winning my age group in High Rocks. So, like, all of those things are built into my perfect day where I execute on these little tiny wins every day that bring me closer to all of those big things that, I really enjoy out of life.
I love that. Something that is consistently coming up in these conversations is you are much more focused on the process to get to the goal as
100%.
opposed to focused on the goal and then thinking through the process.
100%. I think it's too easy to overthink it if you think too far out. It's just like, how do I master today? How do I live my best day? How do I do those things that are purposeful? And how do I not drop the glass balls that I don't want to drop on a daily basis? And I've just been doing it long enough now that I know if I continue to live my life in that way, that it gets me where I want to be in the future.
So, what does your perfect day look like?
Wake up, no alarm, around 6 a.m. Try to make the perfect cup of espresso or cappuccino or latte. I have all sorts of coffee machines at the house. Make one for my girlfriend, Sarah. Cuddle with our dog Blaze for a little while in the morning. And then I usually try to get things I know I won't get to done later in the day, early in the day. So if I have to write a thoughtful email, if I have to create a piece of content for a brand, if I have to map out the content I have to shoot for the day, I try to get that done early in the morning before I hit my gym session. And then I go to the gym usually around 8 a.m. for a 60 to 90-minute training session. Most days I'm training with people. I really enjoy like group training environments. And while we might not do the same things with the same weight or the same intensity, we're like giving high fives and fist bumps and everybody's pushing to the hardest of their ability. And then after that, from about 9:30 or 10 until 1 to 1:30, that's generally when I'm executing. So I'm on calls, I'm getting stuff done, I'm jumping on podcasts, I'm creating content, I'm shooting with my photographer, videographer. I'm just like executing on to-dos. And I know my mind is going to be sharp after my morning workout. So that's
Mm.
why I like getting all of those action items done right after the morning workout. After about 3.5 hours of that, I know I'll start to fade and I want to get another workout in. So that's generally when I do my less hard workout for the day. So a 60-minute to 2 hour bike or a 45-minute run. I'll get that done in the afternoon, which has been difficult moving here to Texas with it being so hot and humid in the afternoons. I'm getting used to that. And then after that, another couple hours of executing, just either creating content for brands or I have calls. And then around 5 o'clock, people start to show up for contrast therapy, anywhere from 5 to 20 people coming over to our house in Denver, or now that we're here in Austin, we just got the sauna set up yesterday. So people are
Nice.
starting to pile in. And that's usually where I take in-person meetings. If someone reaches out to me on social media and they want to meet up for coffee, I'm like, come over and sauna, 5 p.m. Wednesday. So always new people in the mix. And then generally a barbecue at the house. There's so much good food here in Austin that I go out to eat way more often here than I do in Denver. In Denver, it's usually just barbecuing for a bunch of people at the house. And then I try to learn something in the evenings from like 8 until 8:45. I'll listen to a podcast or watch YouTube. Sometimes I'll read something and then just kind of wind down with my girlfriend, sleep by 9:30, try to get 8 hours of sleep, wake up, rinse and repeat.
So you group your work into the early afternoon and the later afternoon. Was that always your peak working hours, or did you shape it around your fitness and then that's what was remaining?
I shaped it more around my fitness, wanting to prioritize the workouts, knowing that my motivation is going to go down throughout the day, and also knowing that my mind is most productive and most clear after workouts.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's so interesting the idea that people don't have time to work out when really if you do make the time to work out, you'll perform better and your output will be better such that you create the time to work out.
I
So
believe so.
prioritizing it, it's like your mantra, like movement is medicine.
Mhm.
100% to stay healthy, you need to move. And if you are healthy, you'll execute better in everything that you do.
100%. And, while I'm working out, I'm shooting content. So I'm multitasking without multitasking. And what I do is way more than you have to do to be fit, to feel good. I'm training for things. I'm training to win my age group in High Rocks, and I'm training to do Leadville next year. So these things require a significant amount of physical exercise. But, if you can sneak in 3 to 4 days a week, 45-minute gym sessions, strength training, anaerobic conditioning, aerobic conditioning, just kind of mixing all of those in, you're going to feel damn good.
Yeah. I saw a post that you made about some adjustments that you made to your run
Mhm.
that enabled you to dramatically accelerate it. You were saying that you tried pushing yourself harder to increase your or you tried pushing yourself harder to quicken your run pace, but you weren't able to until you made a few adjustments. What were those?
So I was trying to just run faster every time I ran. I thought that's how you got fitter, was just go faster, lift heavier, do more, go further. And all of my runs were at a pretty fast pace. This is dating back to 2009, 2010. And I was starting to progress in triathlon, but only in short distance triathlon. I would go and do a sprint distance triathlon every Wednesday night in Jamesville, New York, which is where I was from, Syracuse, New York. And I was winning those Wednesday night triathlons after about a year and a half. But when I did a half Ironman or a full Ironman, like the people that I was beating in these short distance triathlons, they would crush me in a long distance triathlon. And I'm like, I don't get it. Like at this point, I have a six pack. I'm really fit. I'm muscular because I'm doing CrossFit type workouts at the gym. And I'm like, I look fitter, way fitter than the people beating me. I just don't understand. So I hired a coach, and my coach told me I had to slow down to speed up. And I'm like, I don't understand that. How does that work? And he's like, you are lacking muscle endurance and an aerobic engine, your body's ability to process oxygen and get oxygen to your muscles. So he slowed me down from like sub 7 minute per mile pace that I was running at to like 8:45 pace, and told me that was going to work to get me faster, specifically in endurance running, half Ironman, full Ironman distance. And what that allowed is volume. I was able to run further because I was going at a much lower pace, and I was able to run more frequently. By doing that, I started to build muscular endurance, and I started to build this big aerobic engine. And sure enough, I got faster in the marathon distance and half Ironman distance, and it was all from slowing down. So yeah, I always caution people getting into endurance sports that it's not so much about fitness, it's about durability and your ability to build a big engine. And to do that, most of your training should be zone 2. It shouldn't be at a heart rate where you collapse on the ground afterwards. It should be at a heart rate where you feel like you could just keep going, and you should feel like you did something, but you can back it up again the next day. And that's going to allow you to just build volume upon volume upon volume.
So you slowed down your time, but then did you increase the duration you were in that time?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I slowed down my run pace, but I increased the volume that I was doing. So I was able to run more frequently, and I was able to run further by reducing the pace. And I was running about an 8:45 per mile pace at a 140 heart rate when I first started doing this training. Fast forward 4 years of probably 85% of my training being zone 2. I was able to run about a 6:30 pace at a 130 heart rate for 20 plus miles. And it was all that zone 2 work. And it was just because I had tremendous muscle endurance and my body was really efficient at processing oxygen.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Eric, we always wrap up the episode with a question because here at the Hunt for Incredible, we believe that questions are the answer. So, what question do you believe people need to ask themselves to be successful in your space?
Do you really enjoy what you're doing? I really feel like the process matters so much more than the end result. Like, I would not have gotten to Kona if I didn't enjoy the process, the Ironman World Championships. I would not be where I'm at now with content creation and working with brands if I didn't enjoy creating content and sharing my life and my journey. So, do you enjoy the process? Because, with social media now, like shiny object syndrome is real. You see all of these people living this glamorous life. And I've recognized over time that the idea of something could be vastly different than like actually doing it. So for me, I don't like doing late night activities. I like going to bed around 9 because I want to get up at 6 a.m. and start doing my thing and then hit that morning workout. So someone invites me to a boxing match at in Vegas, and the idea of it sounds amazing, but I'm going to be up until 1 in the morning. That's going to really alter my next day. The idea of it sounds cool, but do I really want to do it? No, because I want to go mountain biking at 8 a.m. the next day. So I think thinking through whether it's the idea of it that sounds sexy or actually doing it is what you really want to do.
Hell yeah. I love it. Eric, it's been an absolute blast. Where can people find you and hear more about your communities and your wellness brands?
Yeah, my name on social media, Eric Hinman on Instagram, YouTube, and then foundersonly.club is the membership community for entrepreneurs, creators, and investors.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Eric, it's been a blast.
Thanks for having me.